my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is The Grief of Politics, episode 61. And I'm joined by Avin Carroll. Avin, how you doing? The co-host. 5 years, man. Doing this 5 years.
Five years.
Crazy,
And
crazy.
we've come such a long time from when we started off basically screaming at each other. Now we can have a civil conversation.
We only have 5 subscribers, so we've gotten one a year. So we're doing pretty good. I think,
Hey!
yeah, we got some stuff in the works. I don't think we're going to announce anything. I mean, we did talk a big game, I think, maybe at the end of last year, but you're finishing up with your house stuff, which should be mostly done now. And yeah, anyway, this episode we're just going to talk about, I think I've been, obviously been watching the news. We're going to start small and work big. But I think what I've kind of realized is like Trump's kind of like his mojo. He's running out of mojo. His press conferences don't seem to work. He gets people out there to say things. It doesn't really seem to work. And it just seems like, especially these past week and a half, I don't know how time works anymore, but the past week and a half has been very depressing, and it seems like it's not working at an accelerated pace. So we're going to talk about a lot of like domestic stuff and international stuff today. But Avin, how are you doing? Because we just talked about this right before we hit record. How you doing, man?
You know, um, I gotta admit, I'm pretty depressed about stuff, man. Like, it just seems like our country's moving in the wrong direction. We're only getting more divided, more tribal. It feels like not everyone, obviously, but it feels like the majority of Americans are hating the other side of the majority of Americans, be whoever the they is that we ascribe to be the they.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People seem to be becoming more extreme in their views, not less.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I feel like our country's kind of losing reason. I feel like Gandalf's quote to Saruman would fit here. When did the United States abandon reason for madness? Because
Ye-
that's really what it feels like. It feels like everyone's so deeply ingrained within their tribes that no one has the ability to think freely anymore because they're so afraid of being kicked out. As Cenk Uygur talks about the purity tests, and it just feels like both sides are getting more and more and more ridiculous about it.
well, what I think's strange about I mean, it's everything's bad. There's not. It is weird because I think. How did somebody put this? I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts, watch a lot of news. There was a great quote about what's going on right now, and so I'm probably not. I don't know who to credit. I just heard it. It was like an anecdote. Apparently, somebody wrote online that this is the plot of The West Wing, but with the people from Veep in it. And I've only seen clips of Veep, so I can't speak to the totality. But the only
I
thing
just know that the West Wing was like serious political drama, and Veep was political satire. So that's why I chuckle.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of it. I think for me, the only thing. I mean, I used to take solace in the fact that, like, as to quote Trump himself, they weren't sending their best and their brightest. Like, it seems like the people that we've talked about before, that he's putting in the administration, they're not able to find good people, so they're reaching deeper down into like the third tier, fourth tier, dare I say, the basement, to find some of these people.
But it's not that they're looking for good or talented people. They're looking for people who roughly align with the job role and are 100% sycophantic loyalists.
I mean, obviously that's true. I think what's so weird, and I was taking solace in the fact that, okay, these people aren't good at their jobs. They're getting pushbacks in the courts, and when they have to do, like, they can't basically file a legal brief correctly, or like put the right person in charge to do that. But they're still doing so much damage, with HHS, with like just something as simple as the food pyramid that got announced last week. It looked like first a food
Hey, hey,
club.
hey. I'm not 100% opposed to changing the food pyramid. I
No,
haven't
no,
looked at what the new one is, but like it's been wrong for 20, 30 years.
it's not a
We've known it was wrong for
you
20, 30
you
years.
you didn't see Avin. You didn't see what the new one is. It's a cluster.
Yeah.
This is a whole nother thing.
It's not a food pyramid anymore, it's a food cluster.
It's a I I'll just go on the whole
The
episode
only thing
about
I
it.
heard was like RFK Jr. Had talked about like we need more fat, and particularly like dairy fat was kind of what I had seen, but I haven't actually looked over like the whole thing and how it's all structured. We don't need to go down that tangent, Joe.
But I'll say this: he's also like they're redoing the vaccine schedule. Last time I
Yeah.
checked, like was measles again is in South Carolina. Like it's like they're doing all this stuff that is like you're like, oh well, that's silly. Them redoing the food pyramid into a food cluster, and it's upside down. So it's whatever. Um, they're still doing so much damage. The ice thing, like by we're gonna talk about Renee Good in a bit, but the fact that the people that were adjudicating the fraud in Minnesota, the lawyers and investigators have either quit or been let go. Like Pam Bondi said she let them go, but they said they quit because our administration will not even open investigation into the ICE officer who committed the shooting. No matter what I think about the shooting.
Which is like standard practice for any officer involved shooting in any police department, sheriff's office, law enforcement of any capacity in the United States. So it's like
Yeah,
100% breaking with standard procedure.
yeah, apparently, I don't know if he's still on the job. There's been conflicting reports whether he's still out on the streets or if he's put on
I
leave.
thought
Like,
they like shuffled him off and hit him.
yeah, well, you would never know because they wear masks, Avin. So they can just go wear a mask and go somewhere else. So it doesn't. It's like that's one thing. And then this has been pointed out a lot, but I want to point this out for our podcast for the 5 people that are listening. I understand.
5 subscribers. We have more listeners. It's
Yeah,
like 15 or 20.
yeah. So the 5 subscribers, like, here's the deal. Please like, subscribe, share. If you tell your friends and family, like, hey, I know it's just a deeply political time. Nobody gets along, but there's these two white guys that have been friends since high school, and they mildly disagree. If you want to see two people mildly disagree, they just and sometimes they'll talk about their
Yeah.
cats. This is the channel
Look,
for
look.
you.
I was talking to my mom this morning about it. I was like, our podcast started off and we were like, right and left. And it's just sort of moved into this like agreement we don't like Trump.
Yeah. It's well,
Once Trump's out of office, it shouldn't be that way. Like we actually did have real disagreements during Biden. They weren't like passionate, heated,
yeah.
yelling, screaming. But like when Trump's in office, it's just kind of like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's a thing too of like I had this epiphany when I was researching this stuff to bring it back to Renee Good. This idea that
Mm.
like on the left, police are obviously met with a little bit of skepticism. Obviously, with George Floyd in Minneapolis, this happened a couple miles away from where George Floyd was killed, and we're like, man, cops suck. Defund the police, all this stuff. The ICE agents are so abhorrent and treating people so horribly they're making the police like, oh yeah, that's a good alternative to the. They interviewed the police chief, the New York Times podcast, The Daily, and he said
Mm.
he was brought on after the George Floyd thing, and he was trying to rebuild trust in the neighborhood after what happened with George Floyd, and he said, like, that's all gone. It's out the window. It's totally out
Yeah.
the window. Another fact that came out was people were like, well, can the police just arrest the ICE officers? And
We've talked about this before. It's kind of my viewpoint.
yeah,
They're violating the Constitution. They should be arresting them, in my opinion.
the
But it won't happen for obvious reasons.
yeah, because they actually just talked about the numbers, and the mayor is it Jacob Fry, Josh Fry? I think Jacob Fry is the mayor. Anyway, he said that the mayor of Minneapolis, he said that well, there's only 600 officers in the Minneapolis area, but there is 3,000 ICE agents crawling. So he's like, you don't want two government agencies fighting with each other. And then if the National
Going to
Guard,
war.
yeah, if the guard comes in, that's going to escalate it more. And then people have talked about, well, if he calls the National Guard in, the mayor or the governor, the governor, if Tim Walz calls him in, what if Trump says now they're my guard? And then as a soldier, what do? It's a mess. So if people don't know, I just wanted to talk about Renee Good, unless you wanted to add something else, Avin.
No, no, let's move forward. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and chat for the whole time. Which, we've talked about recording our phone calls, but we actually do have
I'm telling you, dude. If there's a holiday
a
and we,
sequence we want to go through
yeah,
here.
if there's a holiday or something, we could just do that. But I just
I'm
want.
off Monday.
Oh yeah, because you. Okay, well anyway, I just want to go over the facts really quickly, and then of course,
Mm.
Renee Good, she was shot and killed by a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer in Minneapolis on Wednesday, which it was Wednesday. I want to say the 7th of January. I don't know if Avin could do a fact check for me, but so she was shot. There's video all over. I don't want to show the video. I'm sick of looking at the video. I'm not an officer. I just viscerally, I just feel that it's terrible. I don't want to look at the video from another angle. You can if you want. It's on the news. It's on YouTube. You could look at the video, but I wanted to just get the facts out about that. And there's something that kind of caught my eye. Once she was recently widowed. Her husband recently died. Timothy Ray Macklin Jr. Died in 2023. He was age 36. He was the father of her 6-year-old son, who, for all intents and purposes, is now an orphan. And she has two other children, a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old daughter. And then the other thing I wanted to say that caught me that I found interesting about this. This is an article from CBS. Is like there's a GoFundMe for her, and as the time of this article is $500,000, which is good. But before we logged on to film this, I found out that the ICE agent, his GoFundMe, which I don't, for some reason I just don't want to say his name. His GoFundMe is up to $1 million. So, yeah, that's everything was captured on video. There's also several angles from different people that were like on the street. I
Hmm.
think we'll talk about like law enforcement because Avin, you and I aren't lawyers. We're not police. And it seems like a lot of people, viscerally, rightfully so, are commenting on this. I'm not going to say anybody's being like whatever. It is the news. So people comment on the news all the time. But it is weird to me that the people that I respect that have been commenting on have actually been talking to law enforcement and been like, hey, what do you think? And it seems like,
Because we're breaking law enforcement norms,
right. And so,
and so they want to know, like, is this out of the ordinary?
so
Because it is.
you tell me, but everything that I have read from either prosecutors or defense attorneys that have defended officers or officers themselves that have like done investigation, all of them said that the shooter, the ICE agent, was in the wrong. I haven't seen one person that is in law enforcement say, well,
But are you like watching interviews with law enforcement officers on Fox News or Bannon's podcast or the
well,
Charlie Kirk show? What, right? You're watching law enforcement officers and segments that have been cherry picked. I mean, this is the counter argument that are going to support that narrative. That's the argument that's being made,
right, right.
which is why people are like,
Well, I mean, the
he
thing,
obviously was.
well,
That's just the left media. They're brainwashing people.
yeah, I mean,
You've been brainwashed, Joe.
the problem I have is something that we just mentioned at the top is there's no investigation.
Yeah.
The FBI took evidence from the scene. Then, when the
Mm.
Minnesota Criminal Division got in touch with them and said we'd like share evidence, blah, they said no. Is what I've heard behind the scenes, and I think that what I heard is that's why there was like 6 civil rights lawyers in Minnesota that just stepped down because they reached out and said we'd like to investigate this. And from what I've heard, the government basically said go kick rocks, and they were like, okay, we're done.
Well, it's uh, federal prosecutors um, working for the DOJ, who their job is specifically like civil rights investigation enforcement. Like this is what they do specifically. And as I understand it, they were ordered to investigate Renee Good's wife, partner,
Yeah, the widow.
instead of the actual situation that like what happened in that situation. Not just like investigate the ICE officer, but
Right.
like investigate like the whole thing, right? Which again, anytime there's an officer involved shooting, there is always an investigation
Yeah.
in every that I am aware of. Correct me if I'm wrong. In every sheriff's office, every police department, all across the country, anytime there's an officer involved shooting, there's an investigation.
Yeah. And they investigate everybody. I'm not saying they shouldn't investigate the widow because she was on the scene, but
Right.
the ICE officers should be investigated. They should take
Correct.
everybody in that was like filming. I heard a civil
Yeah.
rights lawyer talk about this the other day. It was an interview, and she said, "Well, listen, like we bring all eyewitnesses in. We look at all footage. So not only are we looking at footage, but we're talking to eyewitnesses." And someone said, "Well,
Right.
what?" And the interviewer asked them, said, "Well, what about statutes of limitations? Like, it doesn't really matter if a new administration came in with the new civil division. Couldn't they still investigate this? Because obviously there's no statute of limitation with murder." And the civil rights lawyer had a really good answer. They said, "Well, that's true. That's all true. But like memories fade. Although you have video, like you want everything
Well, and
for."
also the way memory works, right? Like as you repeat it to yourself, you also slightly alter it repeatedly, and that solidifies. So the most recent version of the memory you have has been altered over time anyway.
Right.
Even if it's clear, it might not be accurate in its clarity.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me it's just I can't. And then I don't know. You may know, but I know Christy No made a statement. JD Vance made a statement. Trump made a statement. They did it so quickly. What was it within two
Right.
hours of Chrissy Nome? I think it was like within 2 hours of it happening. She already says, "Oh, that's a domestic
Yeah.
terrorist." You're like, how
Yeah.
do we know that?
Domestic terrorist, crazy domestic terrorist who was trying to kill him, trying
Wep-
to run him over,
Weaponized
right?
her
Trump's
vehicle.
statement was so flagrantly knee jerk that it's kind of comical, and yet I don't hear anyone on the right being like, yeah, that wasn't cool. He probably shouldn't have talked to us so soon. Like, there's zero accountability for Trump and his statement that um, he did run him over. He was in the hospital, and he may not survive. He's fighting for his life. Like, what? What did you watch, Trump? Did
Well,
someone send you an AI altered video of this crazy thing?
Well,
Like,
he didn't even watch
no,
it. He was giving an
no,
interview. He was giving an interview, and they showed. They had somebody come in the room and showed him the video, and in real time, he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's not good." He didn't change his statement, but he made a statement before that she's, an agitator.
right,
I forget what he said.
right.
And uh,
But again, it doesn't justify being killed.
yeah, all right. So to talk about the justification, there's an article from Mother Jones that came out. Is there no date on this? Oh, January 9th. So what I'm quoting this article because Mother Jones did what I think most people do is they reach out to law enforcement, and they had a guy named Robert Bennett. He's a veteran lawyer in Minneapolis who is whoa, it highlighted everything.
When you say veteran lawyer, he's not a lawyer for veterans. He's a veteran, like
Right.
experienced lawyer.
He has a 50-year career. He said, "I quote, I've deposed thousands of police officers." He said, "ICE agents do not have absolute immunity." Bennett says the state
Which
of
is important because
JD
JD
Vance,
Vance has repeatedly said that they
Stephen
have absolute immunity.
JD Vance did, and then Stephen Miller did. I think on the lawn of the White House, or it was a really,
That sounds right.
it
I
was
don't remember, but that sounds right.
it was like Jake Tapper, whatever, and they were. Stephen Miller has like two volumes. It's like nothing and then 12. Like he'll just yell because he gets mad. I didn't actually think vampires showed that much emotion. Anyway, the guy Bennett says the state of Minnesota has the right to prosecute an ICE agent who commits misconduct, but he adds that might be difficult now that the FBI has essentially booted the state's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension off the case, blocking access. The BCA wrote to quote case materials, scene evidence, or investigative interviews necessary to complete a thorough and independent investigation. Unquote. They edited the conversation below. Obviously, there's some interesting things I think that I wanted to talk about. You said they said something about this looks bad news. This video looks bad news for Ross. And then
Mhm.
Bennett brings up this case. He said, sure, we've had several other cases. There was a tactical semicircle, a bunch of officers aiming their guns at a couple fighting over a knife. One officer out of the 8 or 9 fired his weapon. None of the other officers perceived to need to. And that's important, and the interviewer says, and that's important because it suggests that the officer who fired wasn't reasonable, right? Under federal law, an officer can only use deadly force if they have a reasonable fear that could otherwise be killed or harmed. And they said it's an objective, reasonable standardness. So it's not whether you were personally scared out of your wits and fired your gun.
Interesting.
It's would an objective, reasonable officer at the scene have fired a weapon, believing he was in danger or immediate bodily harm.
And not a single other officer there even grabbed their weapon.
Yeah, also yeah,
Even went to grab their weapon.
and
Interesting.
there
I hadn't heard that argument.
so there's something else I think in the video which I think is very clear. There's Ross who did the shooting behind an officer you see in the main video. One of the officers grabs Renee Good's door handle and says, "Open the door," and is like yelling at her. And Ross is behind that person, and Ross hasn't fired yet. When Ross fires, she pulls away. Ross fires. That officer puts his mask over his face and walks away. The one that was at her door handle, that was trying to get in her door.
Oh, interesting.
And if you watch the video, you see that. And then on top of it, there's video footage later of the car, Renee Good's car, that hit another car because she got killed, and the car just careened into another car.
Right.
And there's a paramedic on the side of the road that was like in the neighborhood. It's like, let me go check her vitals. And the ICE officers
I
are
thought he
like,
said he was a physician or.
yeah, he said, I'm a physician or whatever. And the
Yeah.
ICE officer says no. And it's like
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. Like, this makes absolutely no sense. Also, I just want to point this out. This is just a minor thing, but it bugs me so much. I guess this means I'm a liberal cuck, write it up to whatever. But I love my animals. There's a dog in her back seat. Can you imagine what the dog's going through? There's 3 loud bangs. You're in this vehicle that you can't control, and it careens.
Actually, it turns out she was shot 4 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The report came out yesterday.
So he fired again or something.
We just didn't hear it correctly. So there's probably 2 shots really close or something else along those lines. But
But yeah, so I mean, it sounds stupid, but like to care about the dog, but like, what's going on? Like, I can't imagine. And then I didn't see actually what happened to her partner. I don't know if her partner. I think her partner ran after the van. I think on the other side. I'm not
she
sure.
did.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
like that's what I wanted to point out is like none of those other officers thought they were in bodily harm. They didn't draw their weapons. What this guy is saying is like, you all have to feel like you're in danger and draw your weapons for there to be like, okay, we're reasonably all in trouble. If this guy drew
At
his
least
weapon,
others. Maybe not all, but at least others.
yeah. Also, that civil rights attorney I heard an interview with the other day said you have to explain, basically, in this kind of case, you have to explain each bullet that leaves your gun. So although he may be justified in that first shot because it looked like she was hitting him, the other shots when she's careening, driving away, he's going to have to explain those too. And those are going to be very difficult to explain because she's leaving the scene. And again, police have a lot of different ways to get people that leave the scene. They call in backup. They can get her plate. They can track the car. Like, there's all these things they can do. They can talk to neighbors. Like, they don't shoot.
There's also, um, I read about this last week, which was also like, oh, I didn't know that. The DOJ has a standing directive and position that, and this came because of ICE activity in like 2012 or 10 or something like that, an investigation into immigration and customs enforcement. Then the DOJ's position is you should not fire at a moving vehicle unless clear and immediate danger and harm is evident.
Right.
Now, I think people would make the case that in his case, clear and immediate harm was evident because she was going to run him over. Is the argument? Um, but I thought that was really interesting because that's part of the training. And all of this happened because immigration's custom enforcement officers were doing exactly what Jonathan Ross did and the other officers. They were putting themselves in position where they were in front of a vehicle and then using that as the justification for shooting that they were going to run me over. I felt at risk for my life. And there was something like 31 incidents over the span of a few years, and 19 of those were found to be unjust.
Well, Bennington wrote this in the article. He says this is just like Barnes versus Felix, and the person said what happened, and the interviewer said what happened, and he said it's a shooting case where the officer walked around the car, lunged and jumped on the door sill, and put himself in harm's way. You cannot bootstrap your own bad situation to allow a use of force.
Yeah,
And like many people pointed out in the video, Ross was holding his cell phone. That isn't body cam
yeah,
footage. He was
yeah.
holding his cell phone in his right hand and moves it to his left hand. So I don't know about you, Evan, but if I'm in a situation where I think there's going to be bodily harm, I don't hold other stuff in my hand if I have, I mean, reasonably, I would say, like, I don't know.
I don't know. I've been hearing people make that argument, and I don't necessarily. Well, not necessarily. I don't really agree with that argument, right? Like they're out there doing this. This is kind of their job. They're accustomed to operating at these heightened levels, which I think is a bad defense for Ross because that says like, hey, you should already be accustomed to being in these situations and be more clear-headed. I think a few other things that don't look good for him, right? He was involved in another vehicular incident
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like roughly 6 months ago in Chicago, where he was dragged by the vehicle, where he was clearly at risk, and he opted to use his taser, not his gun, to end that incident.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of people questioning why was he even out there to begin with? Like he shouldn't have been put in these tense situations because of what had happened.
Right.
Um, so, like, I don't think anything looks good for Ross from the surface. Now, even if you make the defense that like she was charging him, she was trying to run him over. Um, I just I don't think anything looks good for it. And now the DOJ has come out, or ICE has come out and said, he had internal bleeding.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
to
Yeah.
which, like, okay, maybe are you calling a bruise or contusion internal bleeding? Because
Well,
like he, I've watched that video multiple times, and you can see that he does get kind of shoved, but I haven't watched it enough times to know. Someone I read recently actually pointed out that he sidestepped the car and then leaned in. Like he lunged forward to get closer with his gun. And that lunging forward actually is why you see him then get shoved back.
yeah.
Uh, he obviously and clearly sidestepped the car.
Right.
Even like make the argument that she was trying to charge him, but she had a smile on her face as she was turning, and it wasn't like malicious, I'm gonna kill you. It's like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah. Well, her
And
thing,
and admitting it's really blurry,
well,
so
her,
that may not have actually been a real smile.
suppose, I mean, what we hear on all the videos, her last words were like, "I'm not mad at you, dude. I'm not like,
Yeah,
she's got her hands on the wheel. She's not like pointing
yeah.
at him or whatever. Also, there's audio. We believe it's him. We don't know if it's another agent. But I mean, we don't curse as much, but this is a direct quote. He says, fucking bitch, which would not, I'm sure in a court of law, that's going to go over really well with a bunch of people when they have to watch. Now, if it could be one of the other agents behind him, we don't know. But like just
Yeah.
hearing that, it like the utter disdain for like, not like, oh my God, what happened? What have I done? I think you were telling me, oh no, I heard there's another anecdote, but they were interviewing another officer that had done this. And he said what happened was, there was a situation where some officers were like, I don't know what city it was, but they actually got shot at. Like some people took a shot at two officers. They returned fire. They returned fire down the person, but the person was still alive, like winged them or whatever. Then immediately holstered their weapons. One of the officers
And
grabbed it.
immediately go to provide aid.
Yeah, they grabbed the kit. They went over,
Yep.
they provided aid. The other one called for an ambulance. These people
Yep.
walked away from the scene. They walked
Yep.
away and they wouldn't allow medics in. It's like, I don't know how anybody reasonably, if we just don't talk about the car or like what happened with him, if you talk about,
It's not reasonable, Joe, right? Like, look, people have made up their minds without even watching the video of what happened. The narrative that anyone who is positioned against what ICE is doing is inherently a leftist extremist, and the narrative is so deeply sold, and it's very concerning to me because we have allowed ourselves to outsource our thought to our tribe. And that's a natural human thing. We do it all the time. There's a neurological phrase that describes what it is, where you don't waste brain energy processing information if a trusted source is already giving you the information. And so People have become so deeply tied to their affiliation that they're just trusting what the other side is saying without actually watching it. And I've seen so many clips where people have, and if I were watching those clips, I would agree with them. If you don't watch it in totality, if you look at still frames or specific clips where someone is narrating to you the alternative viewpoint that like she was trying to run him over, this is very obvious, and I've watched those, I would believe it too.
Right. Yeah, it's just one of those
It
things.
has to be watched in totality. You have to see it in totality, and then you have to think about it in totality, right? Like, okay, fine, whatever. He was charging him. Why aren't we investigating it? Because we investigate every single one of these.
Yeah.
Every single time. They
And
all get investigated. Why aren't we investigating this one? Why isn't the FBI cooperating with local law enforcement?
yeah.
Local law enforcement is not a bunch of, you know, dyed in the wool, blue voting, liberal, hippie Democrats.
No.
Like, this is law enforcement. They
Yeah.
tend to be right leaning. Why aren't they being allowed to do their job? Because, at least in my eyes, there's something you don't want to find out. You don't even want to take the chance that he's held to account because then you have to start questioning everything else. Like,
Yeah.
if you question this one, what about the other instances? And Minnesota's just going crazy. It's like super depressing. I keep seeing ICE's, I watched a video the other day of an ICE protester who was yelling at an ICE officer, which, by the way, is protected. The Supreme Court has protected it over and over and over again. And the ICE officer just reaches up and shoves the guy onto the ground, which, okay, that's assault. That's not legal. They're not allowed to do that. I am allowed to protest. I watched another video the other day of a guy who was driving home and he happened to be following an ICE vehicle down this road and they stopped and got out. He was a law enforcement officer with his wife and they're like, you need to move. He's got ICE agents on both sides yelling at him to move. And he's like, my house is right there. Like, I need to go home. I'm
Yeah.
going home. Can I go home?
Yeah.
You need to leave. You need to leave. Like, where am I supposed to go?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Minnesota. I believe it's the Minnesota Star or the Minnesota Tribune. There's a major paper there that's been compiling footage from citizens there, and they're just putting it up on the web. Like this is what's happening, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the things, actually, two things. One that gave me a little bit of hope was there was a guy. Everybody's recording with their phones now. You know, the ICE guys are there, and the ICE guy goes, fully masked up and kitted up. It's like, I need to see your ID. And the guy has a little bit of an accent. I don't know, whatever. And he goes, "Why? What do you mean my ID?" And he's like, "I need to see your ID. Are you a citizen?" And the guy goes, "What? Yeah, I might. What do you mean, am I a citizen?" And the ICE officer says, "Well, you have an accent." And the guy pauses for a second and goes, "Well, you have an accent too," because the ICE officer did have a little bit of an accent. The ICE officer just goes over and grabs him. And people are like, "What are you doing?" Like, he didn't pull a weapon on the officer. He didn't even curse at him. He didn't go, "Fuck you, officer." He didn't do any of that. He didn't throw a rock at him. He just said, "What do you mean? You have an accent too?" The guy just gets mad and just decides to
Yeah.
start. And the thing is, there was another one where same thing like you said. It was a similar situation where a guy was following an ICE officer, but he was just behind him, and he said, "I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get home." And the ICE officers went in his car and got him out. They detained him for 9 hours and then let him go, but they didn't charge him with anything. And that's what they're doing. They're
Right.
putting these people in facilities for hours. Their family
It's
doesn't know.
it's strictly intimidation. It's meant to be intimidation. Other people are supposed to see it. It's supposed to be painful and have consequences. It is intimidation. If these people were doing anything wrong, they should have charges pressed against them.
Yeah,
If just following were anything criminal, you should have charges pressed against you. You
yeah,
should, by law. But they're not, because following ICE is protected in the Constitution. Now, if you're hampering an active investigation or crime scene, if you're interfering, that's not protected. Don't do that.
well, the guy had the video that got detained for 9 hours, when they were like surrounding his car. And they go, you got
Yeah.
to stop following us. He's like, I'm driving on the. What do you want me to do? And then one of them comes up and says, well, we're gonna have to take you in for all the laws you've broken. And he's like, what law? What do you? And he said what happened was one of the officers came, like one guy opened the driver's side door, another officer, ICE agent, opened the driver's side back door, the passenger on the whatever, on you get it.
Backdoor, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and reached behind, chokeholded him, and then took his seatbelt off with their other hand and then brought him in. That's how they got him into custody. And he was being interviewed right when he got out. He had like marks on his face. I think that, I mean, we have to move on, but the saddest thing too is there's Native American tribal members that have been arrested by ICE. 3 out of the 4 that got arrested are missing. And the tribal guys there at the ICE facility, like, we were told where they were brought in. We were told where they were in the facility. 1 came out. The other 3 are missing. So we're calling everybody to find out where this person is. And he goes, I don't believe I have to say this, but yes, they had ID on them. And yes, they had their papers on them to prove they were citizens. But who is more American than the native population of Minnesota? Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like,
You want to talk about heritage Americans?
yeah, they were shaking everybody's hand when they came over, whatever. So this leads us to our next topic, which kind of goes out into the international level of Venezuela. Now, lots going on in the news about Greenland and whatever the heck else Trump is going to, whatever other country he must just have a dartboard.
Did you see the news this morning that Trump is going to put a 10% tariff on European countries that aren't supporting our efforts to buy Greenland?
My God. The best thing about that, did you see I think it was a premiere. I think it was the Danish delegation went to meet him, and they had an impasse. This was a few days ago, and the Daily Show pointed out, but I think it's a great thing. They ran to the trunk of their car after the meeting, and they lit up cigarettes and were out just chain smoking because they were just like, "What is going on?" Like right when they got out of the meeting, they were just like, "What's going on?" But yeah, they literally like.
I mean, they've been in the meeting for a long time and hadn't had nicotine for a while, Joe.
Well, yeah, but I mean, after I had a meeting about what a sovereign country is with Trump, I would go out and start smoke. I don't even smoke, and I'd be like, "Light it up, man! I need a smoke to take the edge." So, to get the facts, and this is when we took Maduro, Nicholas Maduro from Venezuela. The BBC did a great write up on this: spies, drones, and blowtorches. How the U.S. captured Maduro. Some of this is impressive. Apparently, I have to describe it to the BBC. That's weird. I don't want to learn more. Anyway, I was able to look at this until very soon. But to make a very long story very short, we practiced the Delta team with the FBI practice for about a month, rebuilt like parts of his compound. They had people on the inside that kind of ratted him out, and we were able to bring him to the U.S. 4 charges related to gun charges last time I heard. Did those change, Avin? Did the gun charges?
I don't know.
Because it was about drugs, right? Wasn't he a drug runner? And we were gonna arrest him for drugs.
That's what I understood. Yeah.
But then he got to court, and now it's he had a machine gun, was what I heard. Which, by the way, I'm not saying our president could do this, but if it's Venezuela, and it makes more sense for him to have a machine gun for some reason in my brain. It's probably not right. But I just imagine him going, yeah, just put it on the wall. Like, I don't know. Like,
What do you mean by machine gun? Because that's a pretty broad definition. You mean like a fully automatic assault rifle?
I think that's what they brought
Or
him
are
up
you
on
talking
charges.
like a BAR? Like, what are we
I
talking
think they
about
were talking about he had an assault rifle. Again, for some reason, this article, it was like, oh, yeah, just look at it forever. And then now they're like, you've been on this page too long. I don't know. Avin, what say you about us taking Maduro?
So, Maduro's a piece of garbage.
Yep.
He's a terrible human being. I am glad that he is no longer in charge there. I feel relief for Venezuelan people that have been living in his regime and those that have had to flee the country. Um, we don't have the right to invade another country to uh, kidnap their leader, whether or not we like them. We don't have that right or authority. Congress has stepped in and been like, whoa, 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 this is too much,
Yeah,
right?
they passed like a resolution
Even
to
right,
curtail the
even
guns.
Republicans voted to pass this resolution. Now you could say like, those are rhinos, or they don't like Trump, or blah 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 blah. I would say they're the only brave Republicans in our representative government at the moment because the rest of them are literally just like bowing down and kissing the ring because Daddy Trump is the greatest thing to happen ever because they get to run through whatever bills they dang well please.
Yeah.
Um, unless you tick them off, because if you're Lorena Boebert and you're going to have a water pipeline run through your district, well, we're not going to allow that because you voted for Epstein.
Clean. I just want to. I read that too. Clean water, Avin. How can
Yeah.
anybody
Yep.
How can anybody be like,
It's a bad bill. It's a bad bill. It wasn't good for the people. They're trying to push this through. We need to protect these people. Like literally a unanimous vote. Like how often do we get unanimous votes in Congress anymore?
I think I can count on one
It's
hand. I think I can count on one
like
hand how many times it's happened.
even the Epstein vote wasn't unanimous. One guy voted against it.
Yeah.
Uh, like
He's probably on the list. That's
I
probably why he voted against it.
I don't like Maduro. I think our justification for doing it was wrong. I think what we did was wrong. I would say that in any administration. I think I've seen multiple people now talk about like we haven't thought this through. We don't know what's going to happen on the other end. Um, but I think for Venezuela, it is the right thing. I think this is why Europe hasn't been like
I
crazy up in
know.
arms about the whole thing. Also, I think they're on the other end of it, like, oh man, we don't really want to take this guy off. He may come for us.
Well, I
Um,
think too. Like many people pointed this out, but we do like the shock and awe thing. What
oh
Saddam?
yeah,
What was it like Saddam? It was like 3 weeks and he fell, but then we were in the country for 20 years or whatever. Iraq at that point, whatever, 10 plus years. Like this is like it. Listen, I just repair cabinets for a living, and there's this saying that like, hey man, the first 90% is easy, the last 10% is hard. This is
yeah.
reversed. The first 10% of getting Maduro to the States, I'm not saying it was easy, but now we have 90% of the work to do of, hey, now that we've elected the vice president, or she's an interim president to be the president, Delgado, I believe her name was. Um, I,
The vice president under Maduro.
yeah, I have this here. Because it was like, who's running Venezuela? This is from Slate. This came out on the 5th. Um, it's crazy. Like apparently, so we, like many people pointed out, we've replaced the Maduro regime with the Maduro regime. She's the vice president now. She's the president. Everybody's in charge. Now, again, you do want to keep the military happy because the worst thing that you want is in a situation like this, the military to get mad. But I'll say this, and I brought it up to you over the phone. They're supposed to have elections in what, 30 days after this? Now that she's been
Yeah.
sworn in, what's going to happen in 30 days? Didn't Trump make a joke that like we're not concerned with that or something or whatever? Because I'm sure the people of Venezuela right now, some of them in Venezuela, I know people outside of Venezuela are very happy Maduro's gone. We're happy Maduro's gone. But what's going to happen in 30 plus days if they don't have elections? If, I'm saying if.
Well, I mean, I think one there'll be some different civil unrest. But the other thing is, right, like we keep saying it's a good thing for Venezuela, but there has been some pretty bad fallout, like armed mobs and gangs in the street. Like we're not putting boots on the ground because Trump's under a pretty strong um, directive to not to do that. It's one of the very few directives he's actually paying attention to. Like he understands if he puts boots on the ground in a foreign country, he's done. And I
Yeah.
don't mean like done like going to jail. I mean politically he's done. He made so many promises about not getting involved in foreign wars.
Right.
Um, obviously, um, we're hiding this under criminal charges against Maduro. He's a criminal. We're bringing him in to charge him. It wouldn't be the first time the United States has, jumped across the border and grabbed a kingpin or drug lord, but usually it's done in conjunction with that country, and
Yeah.
it's never the head of state.
Yeah.
Um, so you could say that there is a precedent in this case because the head of state is the criminal. I don't know. My concern is it's a smokescreen, and we know it
Yeah.
because Trump has made it very clear this has nothing to do with Maduro. It is all about the oil.
Hmm.
We literally like not we he literally like months earlier pardoned uh, a foreign leader
Yeah.
who was convicted of like hundreds of millions of dollars of cocaine trafficking.
Yeah, like 400,
Um,
400 tons or something through the
and then
years.
hiding it behind like, oh yeah, it was the Biden administration. It was all wrong. Like I read it. Like it was just totally wrongfully convicted. Like really, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Uh,
that's actually a really good segue because there's some things in this. This is from MSN. Man, this came out. I don't. There's no date here, but oh, maybe down here. Anyway, so Trump. We say this is a Maduro. He's a drug dealer. Then we got him on assault weapon charges here. Then all of a sudden, Trump brings the oil executives in and says it's about the oil. We're going to sell the oil. That's what he says. We're going to sell the oil.
Yeah.
There's a couple things in this article that I want to point out. It's funny they're saying to plant flags in Venezuela because I read these things and these are also very, very troubling things. So one thing is they got Chevron, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, other countries. Right here in this article right here, I want to see if I can highlight it without it highlighting everything. Trump said the U.S. government would provide companies with security guarantees, but it was clear he wanted companies to push into the country. At the start of the meeting, Trump said he intended American oil companies to spend at least $100 billion in Venezuela boosting oil production. He said, if you don't want to go in, just let me know because I've got 25 people that aren't here today who are willing to take your place. Here's the deal, Avin. We planned the Maduro thing to the T. We rebuilt parts of his compound. I guess I figured out where his dog was staying. Like all this stuff.
Right.
But you think, well, I guess he did call oil execs before this started, and they said no. Like, we lost money in Venezuela. We're continuing to lose money in Venezuela.
Something big is coming.
Right. There was some like audio coming out of like one of the execs, I think Chevron, was like, well, we were there before and our assets got seized because of the sanctions, and the sanctions happened under Trump, so it was his sanctions that caused those things to get seized because they couldn't sell oil or whatever. And the guy's like, no, we don't want to go in there. We'd spend too much money. Oil's at a, not an all-time low, but oil is low. I mean, I don't know that much about stocks, but the only thing I know is you buy low, sell high. So everything's low right now. Why would you spend, is a company looking for profit, why would you spend millions, probably billions of dollars to revamp this industry just to bring the price of oil down more? So not only are you able to recoup your costs, but you're spending, like, that's just insane. I thought Trump was a really good businessman. I thought he was like the best businessman ever. That was like,
Hell, I don't really think this is about. I mean, part of it is right, like drill baby drill, of which from the beginning, oil executives kind of been like about drill baby drill.
because
But
again,
I think also,
well, oil's
hmm?
low, right? So like they don't want to
Oh
drill.
yeah, but um, oil will go back up again, or will it? Right? Like that's kind of the thing. Like, hey, we need to start investing in other things. Like oil is going to die off after the Trump administration goes away. Um, Heck, even if Trump achieves his wildest, or maybe not Trump, but if Miller achieves his wildest wet dreams of the Trump administration and actually sets up a system where Republicans and other like-minded conservative groups maintain power, like oil is going to go away. It's a finite resource. It isn't going to exist forever. We are moving towards other technologies. Um, this isn't some, green, woke, earth conscious conspiracy. It's just a reality of it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I think
so,
I think the fossil fuel industry had a good run. What was it,
yeah,
1900 to now or whenever, in a couple years when we start doing wind and solar and all that stuff. And also, there's been so many interviews with these people in renewable energies going, well, like, yeah, like I'm not a woke cuck liberal like Joe, but like that's not what they said in the interview. But like they're just like, listen, they were just like, this stuff gets online faster and it is more affordable
it,
to maintain.
it's online faster. It's more affordable to maintain. Kilowatt per kilowatt. It's actually gotten to be pretty comparable. In some cases, even more affordable to bring up the power. Um, right? And I've talked about it. I'm a pro nuclear person. There's advancing nuclear technologies that are coming along. We're going to need more power as we move into the future. Like it can't be just renewables, but renewables need to be a part of the equation, right?
Yeah.
Wind has problems, solar has problems, but so does nuclear, so does oil, so does natural gas. Like all of these, none of them are perfect in and of themselves. Like it's pretty dang easy to bring up production in a
Unless,
wind facility.
yeah, unless you want to be like Trump and cancel contracts, which he did when he came
Well, I
into.
didn't mean it in that regard. I mean like real time, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
energy production naturally has peaks and valleys of demand, right? If you're a natural gas facility or an oil burning facility or even a coal burning facility, like you have to keep everything running at a certain level so that when that demand comes in, if there is a spike, you can respond to it quickly enough to keep the grid energized.
Yeah.
Um, and so there is some inherent inefficiencies in that because you have to keep uh, the fires burning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas wind production, you just redeflect the vanes and let the windmill sit there. And then when you need more energy, bring the windmill back up. Solar, right? Like the sun is shining or the sun isn't shining.
Right. Also,
Um,
battery technology is getting better, and also
yep, which is
the
where I was going to next, right?
yeah,
Battery technology is going better. There's research in alternative forms of battery technology. And I say it that way because we think of batteries like lithium ion batteries in phones and cars, but really a battery is anything that stores and then releases energy. And they're doing this through water batteries where they use excess energy to pump water to a higher point, and then when needed, they reverse the flow and turn on the generators. They've done it with heavy weights where they lift up weights and then they come down on pulleys and spin generators to generate power. Um, they're doing it with heat batteries where they
yeah,
store heat in like energy absorbing materials, specific types of bricks. There's all kinds of interesting ways that we're finding ways to smooth out peaks and valleys in energy production.
yeah,
Um, and you can make the argument like, oh, this is all just woke, blah, 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 blah. But the reality of it is any fossil fuel resource that we're using is finite. It will go away. We have to find an alternative way of doing it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's the plurality, right? Like you're saying nuclear. I'm okay with nuclear, but that takes what 8 to 7 to 10 years to get those online. You know,
or more.
yeah, and then with wind, that's like two to what solar and wind are like 2 to 3 to whatever. But it's like it's a
Yeah,
plurality of that where you're like, hey, we need everything. We don't just need this one thing like
right,
fossil fuels or coal. We need everything. We need
right.
to get everything online. Like it's
Just,
yeah, get it all online. It doesn't matter.
and until we develop effective, safe fusion, we need all of it.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about this is weird because, you know, the one executive, I think Woods, oh yeah, Darren Woods, who's the Exxon CEO, he said that Venezuela is currently uninvestable without significant changes to the country's commercial frameworks, legal systems, and
Mm-hmm.
hydrocarbon laws. He expressed confidence those changes can be put in place with the Trump administration and Venezuelan government working together. We've had our assets seized there twice. You can imagine to re-enter a third time would require some pretty significant changes from what we've historically seen here and what is currently the state. And I believe Trump on Air Force One said, well, we'll probably keep Exxon or Chevron. Whoever was the most negative, he said, well, we're probably going to keep them out of the talks going forward. And I was like, I thought the government didn't pick winners and losers. I thought we were like all about free market and stuff. I thought this is what we,
No,
yeah, we don't
no.
do that anymore. Um,
I did read a good case argument the other day, and this feeds in, so I'll explain it. I did read a good like analysis of the Trump administration the other day, specifically Trump, and like people calling Trump fascist, and he is a fascist, blah 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 blah, like that rhetoric. And someone brought up, they're like, no, he's not a fascist. There's a lot of different things about fascism that he's not fully doing. He's a straight up narcissist, and so like fascism as a government kind of acts like a narcissist, right? Like it's all about me. We do what I want to do. I'm in control. I'm in power. So like, the golden share thing with the Nippon Steel, US Steel merger, the stuff going on with the chip manufacturers and everything, right? Like, it's all about Trump's ego. So now you got Machado giving out of Venezuela, giving her
that, I mean,
Nobel Peace Prize to him,
we
all to stroke his ego.
I don't we don't have a lot of time, and I was debating whether to put that in the show. I think it just shows how incredibly narcissistic he is because they asked him on the lawn. They said, "Did she?" Because I had to read it this morning and like double check because I didn't know if he kept it. I know she was like, "Here it is." I didn't know if he kept it. He did keep it because on the lawn they asked him, "Did she offer you her award?" And he goes, "Yeah." And they said, "Did you keep it?" And he goes, "Yeah." And they said, "Why did you keep her award?" And he's like, "Well, she gave it to me. So why wouldn't I just she
Yeah.
gave it."
It's so again, like I think Trump is surrounded by people with fascist views or tendencies. I don't think they would say it themselves. Some of them might, but um, I think Trump himself is just a narcissist.
I
He
well,
is in complete belief that he is the greatest thing ever. And the conservatives of the United States of America are in an abusive relationship where they keep codependently justifying his narcissistic behavior.
yeah, I think that's what it is. I keep thinking about this. He is a New Yorker through and through, right? I just keep thinking of like the
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical thing you see in New York, the doorman. You live in a nice high rise, you get the doorman. Donald J. Trump is the doorman of, I think, fascists. I think Stephen Miller's a fascist. I think that I don't know. I think I'm not going to say everybody's a fascist, but I think people just what the thing Donald Trump does is he's like, well, if you like you said, he's a narcissist. If you give me what I want, I'm going to demolish the East Wing of the White House. I'm going to build a ballroom. He apparently cut a meeting short yesterday because they were naming a road between Mar-a-Lago and like a main road after him. And so he was like, we got to wrap this up. And then he went out, oh, yeah, I'm getting this road. That's crazy. So, like, they're giving him the candy, they're giving him the cookie. And they're like, hey,
Yeah,
you just opened the door for us to do all this stuff. Stephen Miller gets to do all of his ICE stuff.
yeah.
Kennedy gets to rip through cancer research and all this stuff and changing vaccine schedules. I'm trying to think of what else. Lyndon McMahon, who runs the Department of Education, is like, well, yeah, why don't we just shut down the Department of Education? I'm like, that's where you work. If I went to my boss,
Like actively working to tear it down,
yeah,
right? Right.
if I went to my job as like, I think my position's like way overrated, and I think we should get rid of what I do at work. Like that seems insane. That Russ Vought
He
guy,
doesn't need the money, Joe.
no,
He
no,
has no need for money.
yeah,
He's, he has a job, and that job is to get rid of it.
yeah. Well,
And people
and
keep saying she's not capable, she's not experienced, she's not competent. No, she is competent for what her job is, and it's not to run the Department of Education. It's to close the
the
department.
Department of Education. Yeah, well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like he's basically the doorman to like the worst people because all they have to do is give him a medal or give him their peace prize, and then he gets whatever he's like, okay, great, I'm gonna get to demolish the East Wing of the White House. Is it gonna get rebuilt? I don't know. I get to put up these cool plaques making fun of all the older presidents, and instead of Biden, put up an auto pen. Did you see now that like he's labeling parts in the White House with that like cursive font you see at like Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. So like above where the Rose Garden is or whatever, it says Rose Garden in like that cursive text. It's like again at a casino somewhere. He's putting that stuff around the White House to make it look more and more like a casino. And it's just like, so these are all the things he's worried about. He's worried about the ballroom. He's worried about the marble at the Trump Kennedy Center for the armrest, which Bill Kristol pointed out on the board. I thought he had a great thing. He goes, yeah, whenever I've been sitting at a theater for a couple hours, the one thing that I think to myself is, what would make this more comfortable? Cold marble right on my arms.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, are you kidding
Really
me?
hard, cold, like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to feel
it's
great.
gonna feel great after a 4 hour play, like of Hamilton or whatever. But like that's what Trump wants, and everybody.
They're not going to ever do Hamilton there during the Trump administration. So
No,
what are
there
you talking
are a
about?
lot of cancellations, a lot of cancellations. But so yeah, that's what he is. He's the doorman to like the worst people in the world. All they have to do is say, "Hey, I'll give
Correct.
you a
The
medal."
flip side of it's true, right? The flip side of it is true. Like, Mom Donnie went in and was like extra friendly, had a great chat, probably flattered him. I didn't see like I don't think any of us saw like the full proceedings of what happened in that, but I'm guessing that he flattered Trump. Hey, like you're the most famous New Yorker. You're out here, blah 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 blah. Like buttered him up, and then what does Trump do? Yeah, like I mean, I don't agree with him with everything, but like yeah, I like him. I
Yeah,
feel safe in New York.
charming.
Like people on the right are like,
Yeah,
what are you,
I did see some commentary in the news, like, hey, that's the most New York thing ever when two New Yorkers are like, what are you gonna do? Like I hate you, you piece of crap, but you're from Queens, I'm from Brooklyn. We're New Yorkers, like it's that where and
yeah.
Mom Donnie is charming too. Like so, yeah.
So, like, maybe what we need is we need like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer to get together and
No,
put together a
don't
really
do
big,
this. Don't do this, Avin.
gaudy gold award of some kind and be like, "Thank you so much for caring so much about Americans
Oh
and
God.
supporting this bill." right? Like you were so right. Like we need to do this thing with healthcare, and it's so smart that you do like believe that Americans need this single payer system that we're putting
So
together. Like I
don't
really
do
love
it,
it when you
man.
said blank.
Don't do.
Like maybe they need to be in there, like in his ear, whispering, just like the rest of them are, right? Like Miller would never let him close enough to do it. Wiles
No.
wouldn't ever let him close enough to do it. But if they could, they know. They
Don't
know that all it takes is a little bit of sweet talk and a big gaudy gold award, and Trump's
don't
boom
don't
right there.
don't make me think of that. I think Chuck Schumer one wouldn't be there. He'd just write a letter and be very. He'd write a sternly worded letter in support. Hakeem Jeffries, are you kidding me? Like, yeah. Oh God, I don't even want to. Avin, we're almost out of time. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here? Is there anything that you want to tell the good people about the several listeners and 5 subscribers?
You know, same as always, right? Like check out my YouTube channel. It's up and active. I haven't made anything new in a while. I am getting closer to having my new office put together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It isn't fully, but it is getting better. Um, it's Your Agent Guide on YouTube. I've got Your Agent Guide on Instagram. I do have an active posting schedule where I'm putting up just basic information about real estate, current states of the market, real quick little just small posts if you're
Yeah,
curious about where real estate is.
I'd actually like you to start those up because my wife and I are looking, and whenever I got those before from you from like Facebook or whatever, they're very helpful. So I don't know, fire it back up. I don't know what you got to do, but if you get one review on YouTube, just as a physical review right here, just start doing it again because it was very helpful.
Mm.
That you get feedback from the community. It's positive. Look at that. Look
Yeah.
at that.
Oh, and then every once in a while, I know I've said this before. Every once in a while, I do a podcast called Gaming with Grief,
Mm-hmm,
where my
mm-hmm,
friend Joe Carlson, you
mm-hmm,
know him,
mm-hmm.
has me on to talk about like what's going on in the gaming industry. Typically, he reviews games on his own,
we
which is
should
fine because I don't
we
play the same games.
we
But
should we should actually do that. I don't know what your schedule's like coming up. I usually just try to post an episode once a month, so it's more quality, not quantity.
yeah,
I
yeah,
do want to talk to you about AI and gaming. Maybe I'll have you on maybe next weekend, and we'll do an episode or something because I'm interested in.
the AI cheats, Joe. It always cheats.
Well, I know that. Like I've been a young gamer. It's like what the heck? But I have feelings on AI and gaming. I think some people will probably be surprised. And you're in tech. You use AI tools and stuff in your normal whatever. And yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe next weekend we'll do something if you have time, sometime next weekend. But yeah, I think I want to do that because I've been thinking about it a lot and it keeps coming up in the news, So maybe I'll do another like run of show or something, and maybe we can get together next weekend and then post the episode, before the month is out or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing Game with Grief. We do this every month. I think Avin and I are going to probably have some kind of Discord production meeting to talk about this year. Probably more planning than we've done before. I don't think the channel is going to like change. I just think I want to spend more time doing certain things. I know Avin, now that you're moved in, I think there's some other stuff we're looking at doing. So there'll be some stuff coming up. And if you like this, again, if you want to see two middle-aged men go, yeah, this really sucks. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, family, stuff like that. I know our thumbnails suck, or that's something we're going to work on in the new year. I've heard miserable things about how YouTube is sharing thumbnails now, which makes me even more depressed. But we're going to work on that. We will see you guys next month. Yeah, that's it, I think. See you guys later.